You're wanting a little spiritual pick-me-up, we've got that for you today. It's coming right up. But first, I want to welcome you all and thank you for being with me here today. My name is Noelle Stearns, and I'm coming to you live from 1440 Multiversity, which is in Scotts Valley, California, in the beautiful Redwood Forest. And today we are joined by Panache Desai, who is a spiritual thought leader, a transformation catalyst, inspirational speaker, and author of Discovering Your Soul Signature. He travels the globe providing experiential programs and is featured regularly in print, online, and in broadcast media. Panache appeared on Oprah Winfrey on Super Soul Sunday and was a featured speaker for the United Nations Enlightenment Society. We are so honored to have him as a faculty member here at 1440 Multiversity. He will be leading a program April 6th through 8th called Experience Authentic Connection. So without further ado, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Panache Desai. Hi, Panache.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you today?
Wonderful. It's lovely to be here with you and with all of the people joining us from all over the world.
Yeah, we are so honored and humbled and quite frankly, really excited to speak with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And so will you just give us a quick, brief background on your spiritual or religious upbringing?
I was born into a very spiritual household, and we actually had a meditation center in our home. And being from an Indian family, I was raised in an atmosphere of prayer and worship. So my grandmother was the primary influence in my life for the first 5 years. And every morning she would do ceremonies, recite mantras, and would share with me wisdom and information from our cultural heritage, which is a 5,000-year-old heritage rooted in vibration, frequency, and how to change your energy and change your life. And so over time, naturally, I became steeped in this. And I was actually born connected. And so for me, I was profoundly empathic, profoundly aware. I was experiencing reality in a way that was dramatically different and drastically different than most people were experiencing it. And this posed its own set of problems for me because the world around me was more committed to fear and pretending to be something other than their divine essence than was actually the case, and that was obvious to me. So I went on my own journey of discovery and met spiritual teacher and master after spiritual teacher and master, and they would just continue to reinforce the truth that I'd always known in my heart, that I was here to do something, that there was something in me that was being shared, that was having an evolutionary impact on people around me, and that my childhood and my family life and this wonderful environment that I was given was the platform from which I would then go on to reach millions of people around the world. So that's kind of how it began. It began in a small meditation room in my grandparents' house.
Oh, that's so sweet and so amazing that you were nurtured in that way. But how would you describe your current teachings if you had to label it somehow? It doesn't seem to fall under any dogmatic religion, but I don't want to call it New Age either. How would you describe your work?
Well, I offer people spiritual solutions for modern living. And everything that I share is based on the premise that everything is energy and frequency and vibration. And that unless there is some form of transcendence in your spiritual practice, transformation is not occurring. And what I mean by transcendence is the ability to go beyond the confines of the ego, of the created self. And so chanting, meditation, yoga, all of these practices that have been a part of my tradition, as well as other practices from other traditions, serve as a means of transcendence by which we can know ourselves as the infinite potential and possibility that we were created to be. So as a vibrational catalyst, it's been my role to support individuals like the people that are watching, CEOs of major companies, heads of state, to really live in a way that's in alignment with themselves, by first of all supporting them in being free of the density or the heaviness that impedes their nervous system's ability to fully receive the light and the information that's available to it in every moment. So once all of that information has been processed, the memory of themselves collapses, because you see, everyone that's watching now is relating to themselves through the lens of the past, through the memory of themselves. And so in this moment, in the moment, there is no identity, there's no ego, there's no form, there's no structure. And what constitutes memory is heightened emotion. We only remember things that were deeply traumatic or deeply blissful or deeply happy. And so it's been my role to support people in transmuting and transforming that which was deeply traumatic, in dissolving the emotion around the event through a vibrational process that I call vibrational transformation. And once that happens, naturally it frees up their greater potential to the point where they become limitless. And they start to attract infinite possibilities into their lives. They start to live in a way where they're at peace, where they're free. And so I'm not here to perpetuate a teaching or a dogma or any form of dependency. For me, it's about really empowering the individual in this understanding that most ancient traditions and cultures have had, and bringing it back into the forefront of our modern world so that we can affect transformation in its complete sense and in its fullest sense in people from all walks of life. Because the current transformational paradigm of change your thoughts and change your life is solely based on the mind. And there's nothing that can shift through the mind alone. We have to access the soul. We have to come from something deeper within ourselves. And once that connection is made and remembered, we live from that place. And that then begins to amplify every other outcome that we experience. So our health gets better. Naturally, we start to generate more money and abundance. Our relationships become more harmonious. And most importantly of all, we experience a peace that passes all understanding, a peace that becomes the foundational experience of our lives, regardless of what's playing out on the surface. And that peace is the experience of the enlightened state. Peace is the experience of one's divinity. It is the experience of the totality of one's potential. And so my role has been to facilitate an evolution that's happening right now, a remembrance and an awakening that's happening right now, and to also liberate people from the bondage of fear, from heaviness, from pain, from suffering, so that they can live their best life and so that they can express that and share that in every moment.
Sounds so incredible.
Thank you.
Sign me up. So are there different levels of spiritual evolution or ascension? Is there any way that you can break it down? I mean, my mind just wants to.
Yeah. Human evolution on a biological level happens in a linear form. So basically, it's based in time. So there's a progression in time. Spiritual evolution happens dimensionally, so it's vertical. That's why, in a moment of grace, an individual can fully transform their consciousness. That's why, in a moment of grace, an individual can be taken from the depths of suicide into flourishing and thriving and then excelling in every area. So that's the blessing of spirituality, is that we have access to vertical growth. Vertical growth leads to dimensionality. Dimensionality leads to expansion. And the more an individual expands their frequency and their energy, the more they start to access greater dimensional planes of existence and consciousness. And these gifts and abilities aren't just reserved for meditators or people that have been deeply entrenched in spirituality. I've got people that come to see me that don't have any basis of spirituality at all. They came to me because something in their life wasn't working. And through connecting with this energy and this gift, they've started to operate in the world in a way that appears almost superhuman, because they're now functioning in a way that is so graceful and so aligned that things are happening for them that are unprecedented, that are out of the ordinary, that are out of the realms of what they would ordinarily even be able to envision for themselves. And this is the magic of spiritual evolution, that the more we change our energy, the more we change our life. The more we return back to our authentic essence, the more naturally life works. And the more we unlearn all of the things that we've been told that we have to conform to and that we have to abide by, because all of those things are based in fear and limitation, because conformity is death and belonging is a prison that we all live inside of. One, however, that can never bring the result that we want. When we embrace our uniqueness, that's when life begins to flow. That's our soul signature. So we're here to uniquely embody divinity. And in having the courage to uniquely embody divinity or light or love, every aspect of our life elevates to that resonance and that plane of frequency and consciousness. So humanity is going through a vertical ascension, a vertical expansion and evolution. And that's altering the timeline. It's altering the linear evolution. Humanity's next leap isn't a technological breakthrough or an advancement of some external kind. It's going to come through individuals like you and I having the courage to turn our awareness within ourselves and to start to embrace what's there, to start to access the greater potential that's there. It's no accident that everything in creation is accurately reflected within us, within our bodies. We're literally made of stardust. And when we begin to grasp the vastness of that possibility and that potential, the blessing of being human, it's in that moment that our life begins to transform. It's in that moment that we begin to bring into being things that are in harmony, things that are in alignment, things that are for our highest good and for our best. So, yeah. My
So,
earpiece gets excited and keeps falling out of my ear. Sorry, but I'm back.
so if someone is just getting into these spiritual realms and they happen to stumble across this video, where would you suggest that they start?
Well, I'd start by saying that it's no accident that you're here and that you're hearing these words, that everyone that's drawn to me, to this message, to this vibration, to this frequency, has a part to play in the upliftment of humanity. It's been my honor to empower masters and teachers in their mastery and to remind them of that. Every single person that comes to see me has a very unique purpose. And the problem is that that unique purpose hasn't been fully realized because they've conformed to the laws of our planet that are rooted in fear. And what happens is the more we dare to be different and the more we dare to unleash our uniqueness and live authentically, the more those gifts and talents and abilities are unleashed and expressed in the world. And so if you're hearing this, it means that you're here for something far beyond that which you will ever be able to know. It's something that you can participate in. It's something that you can be a part of. It means that your past doesn't need to define you anymore. It means that whatever's going on the surface is actually prompting you to access a solution. And the solution is to end any forms of separation within yourself, to return to oneness, to return to wholeness, to return to love, because that's really all the divine is. You know, when I experienced God, we want to use that word, the word itself is limiting what I experienced, but it's just an infinite ocean of energy. And it vibrates at a resonance of love that's beyond description. So any language that we can apply to that experience serves as a limitation. But we're all a part of this. And this infinite expansive frequency and vibration loves us. It's a part of us. It's inside of us. And when we end the need to externalize authority and power and look to centralized forms of empowerment or worship or whatever, and start to look to ourselves and start to empower the inner authority, the inner guru, the inner author, the inner expert, it's at that point that our life begins to exponentially evolve and take off. And so if you're hearing this, it's never too late. You're hearing it because you're meant to access something within you. Your soul wants to emerge and it wants to be in the driver's seat of your experience. And when that happens, everything that you've always wanted comes into alignment with you for you to have, for you to experience, and for you to share. So that's what I would say to someone that's tuning in right now. That's why they're here.
Yeah. So for myself and many people around me that are on a spiritual ascension path, it seems like the more we grow and expand, the more sensitive we get. And going back to jumping timelines, like you're talking about, we are ascending, getting sensitive, opening ourselves up to more. And yet the world around us can still be very harsh and dense and difficult sometimes to navigate through with that new awareness. So how do we integrate this new consciousness and this new level within ourselves, but still live in the matrix?
Well, it depends, about what definition of the world that you abide by. So if you abide by mainstream media's definition of the world, then it's awful. But if you actually do some research and take some time to find out what's really going on, what you'll discover is that we're more prosperous than we've ever been. We're less disease-ridden and we're living longer than we ever have. That actually we're more collaborative as nations than we've ever allowed ourselves to be. And that even when we have conflict now, it's so pinpoint and so precise that the loss of life is minimalized in that conflict. And so we're living on the verge of a golden age. It's just that mainstream media propagates fear because that's what fuels its viewership and its attendance and allows it to earn revenue through sponsorship ads. So we have to start as conscious human beings to see the world for how it really is. And the truth is now, two people from two different parts of the world can interface through technology and exchange ideas and love and exchange energy with each other. And so now there's no longer any centralized authority that's in the way of two individuals meeting and exchanging information. You see, the reason why the world hasn't evolved as quickly as it could have is because information has been withheld from the masses. So the internet was the first major evolutionary leap in the decentralization of information. Now everyone has access to the same information. But what's also happening is now everyone has access to the same energy and the same frequency. The light of the divine is shining on every human being equally. And it's up to us to take a look at where inside of ourselves we're not able to receive that, where we're not allowing that. And the more we resolve that, and the more we return to the original integrity of our divine blueprint, the more all of a sudden the media, and it's all fake news, and the fake news in the media, because it is all fake news, it's manipulated, begins to lose its appeal. And we start to then reinforce the goodness of life, the truth of life, the collaborative nature of reality. And this is the dawn of decentralization, which we're experiencing now through blockchain, through cryptocurrencies, through this emergence of technologies that allow us to experience decentralization. You see, every existing system and structure in the world isn't the problem. It's centralization of power and authority within that system and structure that's caused the greed, corruption, and basically manipulation of millions of people. Religion actually isn't wrong. It's just that there's a central authority, there's a central power, there's a central rule and ideology that one has to conform to. And the problem is that no matter how hard you try to conform to that centralized version of God and authority, you'll never be good enough. And of course, you're not meant to be. So now spirituality is decentralizing access to divinity. We're no longer going through the mainstream routes that we used to go through. We're now sharing information, sharing ideas. People have the opportunity to come to multiversity, to experience, the same message through many voices, to experience the same platform of empowerment in a myriad of different ways. And so, multiversity in and of itself is a testament to the fact that the world is a much better place than it ever has been. See, and so that's what I would say is that find the truth, find the reality, because the version of reality that we're being given is manipulated and it's false. And there's an economic agenda that it supports, right? Scarcity naturally supports a higher value, right? Decentralization threatens the entire structure and system. So I'm here to democratize enlightenment and here to provide every single person access to it to the point where I make my role extinct. And the sooner the better. And that's how I know I'm doing my job properly, is by making my role in and of itself extinct, by facilitating the complete empowerment of you and all of the people that are watching this.
I could talk to you for hours. We do need to wrap up soon, but speaking of multiversity and your program coming up, so everyone that joined us, thank you and welcome. Thanks for being here with us. Panache Desai will be joining us here at 1440 Multiversity for a program April 6th through 8th, which is a weekend program. So I'm sure you will dive a lot deeper into all of this during your program. Is there anything that you want to say about your program?
I think it's time to be relieved of the cognitive load of being human. And I want you to come and be relieved of that cognitive burden of being human. Optimization means simplification, and simplification is accessing the soul. And the more we live in alignment with the soul, and the more we live in alignment with our authentic selves, the more naturally we function optimally in the world. And so if you're ready to experience the leading edge of transformation and to have breakthroughs beyond description, then come and see me. I want you to not just experience and not just intellectually understand what God is or what divinity is. I want you to experience it in your body, to live in harmony with it and connection with it in every moment. And through commitment, consistency, and repetition, be able to, on demand, access the peace that resides within you in every moment. We're alive at a point in human history where you can fully embody the totality of your potential. And that's what we're going to be exploring, is how do we begin to move away from what society has conditioned us to be, to what our parents have conditioned us to be? How do we return to who we authentically are, to who we've been created to be? And from that place, from that space of overflow, from that space of enough, from that space of love, how do we then go about enhancing the experience of being human for ourselves and then serving a global give back that then enhances the experience of being human for countless billions of people around the world.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us, most of us watching. Thank you so much. Everything that you're saying, just like, yeah, go Panache.
I'll see you at the bus.
Oh, it's so true. You're just hitting all the points, and I love it. And for everyone watching, if you want to experience Panache in person and go deeper with him, connect to your essential, authentic self, head on over to 1440.org/Desai for more info. And I do know if you can't join us, he does have a lot of materials out there online, so search for him. And Panache, thank you so much. It's been a true honor, and I'm so happy that we could do this today.
Thank you for your wonderful questions and for just being here with me in this way. And I'm so grateful to everyone that tuned in and that everyone will get to watch the replay. And I just ask you to answer the calling in your own heart, to be fully who you are and to live that, because that is the end of suffering. So I love you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone.